First, number one, we need to know what is the difference between a count noun and a non-count noun. That's the first thing. After we got that part, then we need to put each one of them inside their family. On the first part, we got count nouns. The question that I use to ask about count nouns is how many. So, how many parks are there in your city? How many cars do you have? How many boys do you have? Or how many brothers and sisters do you have? Now, after you got that you know that you are asking a question about a count noun, then we have a couple of options for the answers. If your answer is affirmative, affirmative means that you are answering with a quantity or about a quantity. So the answers are a lot. That means that you don't remember exactly the number, but the number is big compared to the rest of the places that we're talking about, or compared to the rest of the people. We're talking about cars, or we're talking about boys or children or things like that. Now, if you have here many, that means that you have a large quantity, but you don't remember exactly the amount at that time. When you say some, is like a medium quantity, right? A medium. A few is a low quantity. A few could be 2, 3, maybe 4, all right, around there. Not that many. That is for the affirmative, and you can answer. If you say how many parks are there in your city, you can answer with the number of the parks if you remember the number of the parks, because they are count nouns and you can count, and you can answer with a number because you can count. That is on the affirmative side. Now on the negative side, we have there aren't many. That means that the quantity is not that much. The quantity is not a large quantity, but you don't remember the exact number at the time that you are speaking. The same thing with not many. When you say not many, it's more than one. It's more than one. It could be a lot, but you don't remember at that time exactly the number that you had. And the other side of the negative is when you have zero. So when you have zero, you have two ways of answering. Number one is there aren't any. That means zero. Or you could say there, or you could say just none. Or you could say there are 0 parks in my neighborhood, meaning that you are expressing 0. On the other side, with the non-count nouns, and remember non-count are those that you cannot count. We need to find a difference between the answers that we can give on the affirmative. The first thing is that the question is different than the one about count nouns. The questions in non-count nouns is how much. Non-count, how much. Count, how many. Non-count, how much. Now, on the answers of those, you have, if it's affirmative, then you have a lot. And be careful because you can use a lot in the two. So those you can memorize it like that. You can say, okay, when I have affirmative, I can use a lot in the two, in count nouns and non-count nouns. Okay, if you see some, yes, you can use some in count nouns and you can use some in non-count nouns. Now remember that a lot and some means that you have a quantity but you don't remember at that time the exact number. All right, so that's why, because you cannot count them at the time that you are thinking about it. So you can use it for the two. Now, when you have a non-count noun and you say how much and the quantity is small, then your answer will be a little. And that is very different than a few. So we could say that a few is the opposite of a little. Count nouns, a few. Non-count noun, a little. Going to the negative side, then you can use there isn't much. You see, isn't much, that means that the quantity is low. Now you see here that whenever you use many in count noun, in non-count noun you use much. So many and much are opposite when we talk about count nouns and non-count noun. You see, in count noun here we say not many, and in non-count noun we say not much. So you got to memorize those two differences. On the other side too, you have that there aren't any or none. And here you have there isn't any for non-count nouns or none. Yes, that is the same for the two because they all, this one means zero. This means zero. And this means zero. And this means zero. Questions?